Hi, this is Mahesh, and in this video, it's a very short video. In this video, we're going to talk about use of depth in graphic design. Before we talk about the topic, I want you to take a look at this image so you can see the text T written here. Now, can you tell me which one is the foreground and which one is the background? And most of you would say that T is the foreground and the white is the background. There is nothing wrong with it. So, to give you more clarity, when I showed you this image on the left side, you assume that this is how the placement of the elements are happening, right? You can see a white sheet on the back and the T is on the front. We are actually looking at it from a perspective, from an angle, and we can see the placement of these objects like this. And this is absolutely correct, right? But let me actually induce another thought into your mind, right? What if I'm saying that? Okay, that's not how I did it. I did it like this. So you can see here that you're seeing the same output image, but the way that I created is by this, by doing this, right? So I had a black sheet in the background and I had a white sheet with T cut out from it. So you're actually looking through that cutout and you're seeing the black through it. And that's giving you this image on the left side, right? Again, there is nothing wrong with it, right? So now you have this confusion that, okay, which one is the right way? Which is the perspective? Which is the foreground and which is the background, right? So this is happening because there is no clear definition of depth in this design, which is absolutely fine, right? These are how a lot of modernist 2D designs are made. To get a better understanding, I'll show you this particular image. It's a graphic design poster. If you are looking at it as a normal human being, which you are not right now, because I induced a second thought into your mind. But if you're looking at it normally, you would have thought that, okay, there's a photograph of this guy in the background and, somebody put blocks of text on top of it, right? But now you have that other perspective also. What if that is not true? There was, this image of this guy on top and you removed pieces or blocks from the image and it revealed message under it, right? That's also possible here, like a jigsaw puzzle, right? There are missing pieces in this image and you put on top of it, you can close it to become a full image. So here is that confusion happening again, right? You don't know which one is true, but it's, again, as I told you, it's absolutely fine. Lots of modern designs are actually done without depth playing an important role, and it's working perfectly fine. If you look at a lot of modern Swiss based designs and all that, you will find out that there is no depth in it. They are trying to actually use a flat design. Now, why are we talking about depth, or why is depth important in a design? You can use depth in a very effective way, and by using depth in your design, it will actually add dramatic interest in your design compositions, right? Even though depth or using depth is not really necessary in graphic design, if you add it, it definitely adds value to your design. So we are going to talk about, I'll just quickly give you an example of how we can actually bring depth into a graphic design solution. So there are three ways to bring depth. One is using a technique called superimposition. The second one is using effects. And the third one is using perspective, right? So superimposition is a very basic idea where you basically superimpose or you merge or overlay different layers of images together. Using effects is by creating, shadows or blur or things like that to say that which one is on the top. And using perspective is always looking at a design from an angle or creating a design from an angle rather than from the front view, right? So we'll take a look at a couple of very popular examples of these. You can see some examples of superimposition here. So if you look at this image right here, you can clearly see which is on top because there is a depth which is created here. By superimposing two images, you can, and it is made very evident with that tear effect, right? So You're tearing the top of the image of the person, and you're seeing the message underneath it. So that is, you're superimposing two images on top of each other. You can see in this image also, there is a clear background of this person and the message is superimposed on it. You're overlaying it on top of it. If you look at any examples, let's say this text, or you can see that effect very clearly here, that the there is a digital typography which goes below the painted typography on the top. Here also you can see, because of superimposing it and removing, like the cutout technique that we just used, you can see that this text block is actually in the front and the image is in the background. So this is how you use superimposition in a design to create depth. Now we're going to talk about how to use effects to create depth in your design, right? So if you look at these design, you can clearly see that the depth is very evident because it has depth of field, right? It has a blur effect. So whatever is closer to the camera is in focus, and whatever is farther away from the camera is out of focus in this particular photograph. You can see the same thing, and that's blur effect, which is applied to this poster as well. You can see a couple of blocks of text is actually in focus, and whatever is beyond that is out of focus. You can see shadow effects applied to these posters to see that it brings the depth very clear. It makes the depth or the hierarchy of objects very clear, what is actually on top and what is below it. So that's how you use effects. Some examples of how you can use effects in design. Now, the last one is using perspectives, right? When you design it from an angle, when you say that okay, there is much more to it and you are actually creating that angle in your designs, you can add depth. So if you look at this example, you can see that there is a perspective, that the text, the series of text is actually coming close to the camera, then it's going away, and it's creating the title here. If you look at this poster, you can see that the text is actually around the character. It's going around the character, so it creates an angle. This poster, again, the shadow and the text is actually at a perspective. So we can see that we are closer to the victim of the scene, and then we can see perhaps the killer or the witness on the other side, which is actually really far away. But if you think about it, it's actually a flat design, right? But you can see depth here because it is using a perspective. Another very interesting example is this. You can see that you're actually standing at the bottom and you're looking at this pyramid of design, or maybe an assembly of design which towers to the top, right? So there is a very interesting perspective, and thus a depth is created here. So very interesting idea, and a very interesting thought that you can apply in your designs the next time that you're doing a design project. You can definitely try the scope of adding depth into that design and making it a little more dramatic, thus gaining more attention or traction from the users, right? So I hope this actually helps. Try it in your next project and let me know your thoughts. Thank you, and bye.